Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Benchwire. We got a brand new episode in store. We're going to talk about the draft and do a little recap. I'm joined by Justin. How we doing, Justin?
What's up, everyone? I'm doing good. Finally having some beautiful summertime weather here, so I'm stoked. I'm so
Yes.
excited. And it was a fun draft. It was bizarre, but always, good time. So we can't wait to break that all down.
All right. So let's get into what we're going to talk about first. I said we talk about where all the quarterbacks landed. So, no brainer, first overall pick was Caleb Williams. We all expected that, right? And he's going into probably the most perfect opportunity as a number one overall pick. Perfect situation. You got all your star receivers, and they drafted Rome Odunze, add another weapon to the arsenal. So you got Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet. They just got weapons on weapons. I think Caleb Williams should be in consideration for the offensive rookie of the year if all goes well and stays healthy. What are your thoughts on the Bears getting Caleb Williams and moving off of, I guess, Justin Fields?
Yeah, I thought the Caleb Williams pick was the no brainer, especially when we move off of Fields. I was kind of in the camp of keeping him because I like the promise he showed at the end, and then you could trade it and leverage it for more picks in the future, but. They went the other way, and I understand why you believe in the upside, the talent, the ability of Caleb. I get that. So can't knock the number one overall pick being him at all. That was good pick. The Rome pick I didn't see coming. I thought they might go either O line or D line or somewhere on the defense to help bolster that unit up. But when you look at the Rome pick, it makes sense because Keenan Allen's injury history is there, so he does get hurt. So you have to have a backup for that. And then Rome can also learn from Keenan and DJ too. So Keenan's older, so he might only have like 2 more years left, 2 or 3 more years left. And then it'll be Rome's turn to be a number one or number two, assuming they hold on to DJ Moore as well. So that's in the future, that's a good one too. So that makes a lot of sense there. So the first two picks were pretty solid for the Bears, I had to say.
Now, if you were to give it a grade for the Bears, what would you give it?
I don't really know how the rest of the draft
I'll
panned
just
out,
say the
but
first round. First round.
the first round, I probably wouldn't have gone Rome. I probably gone something more like right now to help, but I get the pick, so I'll give it like a B plus probably.
Yeah. I was thinking A minus because I think Rome is one of the best receivers in this class, right? It's like 1A, 1B, 1C with Marvin and Malik. So I think getting him, put him in that offense, and when Keenan Allen leaves, he could step up and be that type of alpha receiver. I like it. So I'll give him A minus because I think you're getting a face of the franchise. Caleb Williams, you haven't had a face of the franchise at God knows how long. I think he is light years better than Justin Fields. So getting him in there, he's in a perfect situation. And you get him an alpha receiver. They're both on rookie deals. It's a good look for Ryan Poles, so I'll give it an A minus. Um, let's talk about the next quarterback, right? Let's talk about Jaden Daniels. We'll just go down the quarterbacks, right? So Jaden Daniels at LSU. Everyone predicted him to go to Washington. You got the first 7 picks right in your mock draft. So kudos to you. Kudos to you.
Thanks,
Uh,
Ryan.
Jaden Daniels, I think he will be someone that Washington can finally, rely on, a quarterback that they haven't had in a while. And I think he's going to be better than Sam Howell. He's going to be better than Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz and all those quarterbacks that they've been going through since Kirk Cousins, really. Um, I think he has a lot of raw talent. I don't know if they have all the pieces around him, but it's a good start to the rebuild. So, what are your thoughts on Jaden Daniels going to Washington?
Honestly, I think Jaden Daniels is one of my favorite quarterbacks. He probably is my favorite quarterback coming out this year, just because he's dynamic. He's not like as athletic, as quick as like a Lamar or Michael Vick were, but he's like in that realm of dual threat. He can throw it, and he can run it. He has good qualities there that you like to see, leadership qualities. But the biggest thing is like how much he's improved. Like last year at LSU, he improved drastically. So you like that the intangibles of like hard work and putting the time in to get better. That's there, so that's good traits you want. So if you bring that in, then you could expect him to get better. So I like the pick there. I think me personally, it was my favorite quarterback in the draft, so I like the pick.
Yeah, I think it's a good start to the rebuild for the Commanders. Getting a guy like Jaden Daniels. You're gonna have to build him up though. We'll see how he does in the Cliff Kingsbury offense,
Yeah.
which is good for college quarterbacks, right? We saw success with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals for a little bit. They got to a playoff game. See if Cliff Kingsbury can translate that success. Jaden Daniels, we will see. And then we'll talk about the next quarterback. Let's talk about Drake May going to the Patriots at 3. I think this guy will be sure a lot better than Mac Jones. He's not going to be no Tom Brady, but there's a lot of upside with Drake May. There's a lot of talent, a lot of a talent for sure to develop, but we don't know what they will do because I still think they have a lot of holes on their roster that they have to rebuild. But I like taking a guy in Drake May, staying there at 3, not trading with the Vikings, not trading with the Giants, because I don't think they would have gotten a player that would have changed the trajectory of this franchise in like Drake May did. I think he will be the face of the franchise potentially. It just depends what they do with this rebuild with Gerard Mayo and company. But I think Drake May, he was my favorite quarterback other than Caleb Williams in this draft class. I think he has a lot of upside, a lot of raw talent and ability. He reminds me of Justin Herbert. Just got to get the right pieces in there. And I think he can be, one of the better quarterbacks in this draft class if all goes well. What do you think about Drake May going to the Patriots?
Um, Not as high as you on him. I understand why they sticked and picked. They wanted to get their quarterback up there. I get that. New regime coming in, new GM, new coach. So you want to get your franchise quarterback, your franchise guy to lead forward. I get that. Um, Maybe we'll say in a couple years that they should have traded down and let one of the other two teams you mentioned pick them, and then you can pick the best player available. And like you said, there's a lot of holes on that team, and it's not the best situation to go into. So maybe they could have uh, traded down, drafted an offensive lineman or somewhere more of a need that could help you get more of a bona fide guy, and then when like Jackson Dart and Shadur are coming out, then maybe you're in position to get them, who I'm more higher on than most of the guys in this draft. So yeah, I understand why I get the logic behind it. I do, but like you said, he has good ability. But then again, he played in North Carolina, and then I just think of like the Duke quarterbacks, and I just think like, okay, I'm not gonna hold it against him. Could he probably play in that league? Sure, but I don't know. It's not like the premier school for quarterbacks that you want to see, like in the SEC or anything like that. So like Jaden Daniels was,
Yeah.
but doesn't mean he can't play though. But I understand the pick. It's just not my favorite pick. I think probably they should have traded down, especially if they got strong offers that were reported right before the draft too, from the
Yeah.
Giants and the Vikings.
Because I
So
believe
we'll
the
see.
Giants, they offered a first, their first this year, and their first next year. Then I think their second rounder, I believe. And then the Vikings offered the 2 firsts this year and their first for next year. So they could have got a lot of value for this pick,
Yeah,
but
I would
they
probably take
had,
the Giants offer. To be completely honest,
you would have took what?
I probably would have taken the Giants offer. You have two
Yeah.
next year.
Because it will probably be a high pick because, the Giants and just haven't been great. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, you said it, not me.
but yeah, I would have took the Vikings pick because you're getting 6, or no, it wasn't 6. It was 11 and 22, I think, and then you get a first round pick. So you could have got potentially a Bo Nix, a JJ McCarthy there, and still got another talented player at 22. So, and you get a first round pick with the Vikings next year. So
Mm,
I would have took that offer,
I
but
think the quarterback play dips off after Caleb and Jaden. So
yeah, I don't know how good those quarterbacks are going to be, but we're going to talk about them soon. We'll talk about the receivers for a little bit because why not? So Marvin Harrison, he went to the Cardinals at 4. Um,
hmm
I think he was the best wide receiver prospect in this class by far. Um,
yeah.
Maserati Marv, they call him. I think this is Kyler's best receiver since DeAndre. I think he'll step in there and be face of the franchise for the Cardinals for a long time. He kind of reminds me of he could be a Larry Fitzgerald I think he could finish his whole career there if all goes well. I think he is super talented. Could be a Hall of Famer one day, and I think it's a great pick for the Cardinals at 4. Like every mock draft had him there. You had him there. I had him there. Everyone had him there. What do you think of the
Yeah.
pick?
This was the biggest no-brainer of the draft. You're getting a generational talent at wide receiver. Can win off of press. Can run any route in the route tree. Can win off any look the defense gives him. So this is the biggest no-brainer. You make Kyler happy. You get a weapon for them to work with. Yeah, this is a steal. This is the best. I think this is by far the best player in the draft. Caleb Williams included, and all the quarterbacks. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in the draft. To get him at 4, it's good value there. I think this is a home run pick for the Cardinals.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's going to be one of those guys that could be in the Rookie of the Year running, possibly. Just depends if he stays healthy and whatnot. And then let's talk about my guy, Mr. Malik Neighbors at 6.
Yeah.
I think it was the right pick for the Giants, not reaching and taking J.J. McCarthy. I was scared that they were going to do that, but they didn't, so I was happy about that. The only quarterback I wanted in this draft was Drake May and potentially Caleb Williams, but that wasn't going to happen. So I'm happy that they stayed put at 6, got the best player available in Malik Neighbors, giving Daniel Jones finally a alpha receiver because he hasn't had one his whole career. I would say he's had Golden Tate, he's had Kenny Galladay, and he's had Kadarius Toney as like potential wide receiver ones. None of them panned out. None of them panned out. So finally getting a guy this young, he's only 20 years old, and he reminds me a lot of Odell Beckham, like you said in the previous podcast, coming out of LSU, very electric and can make moves in space with the ball in his hands. He's very
field, yes.
He's a little, yeah, he got some diva traits, but I feel like every receiver one has some diva traits. Most of them in the NFL, right? You talk about Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown a little bit. You know, he's got some diva traits. Justin Jefferson, like they all got their diva traits, but they're one of the best players on your team, and you got to have them on your team. Finally getting Daniel Jones a weapon of this caliber is something he hasn't had his whole career. So I'm excited about that, adding him to the offense, seeing what Dable could do with his creativity, and hopefully he could get this man the ball in his hands and it won't be like those memes we saw on Ghetto Gronk or NFL memes where Jones is just chucking it. I don't know. We will see. But I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. It's a great pick. Best player available in the draft at 6. So I'm happy about it. They didn't take J.J. McCarthy, and, you know, they stood pat and got Malik Neighbors. I give the grade an A- because, you know, he could potentially be a bust. Who knows? I doubt it. Hopefully he stays healthy and whatnot. But I give it an A-. Finally getting Mr. Daniel Jones a weapon. What would you give this grade for the Giants?
Yeah, as you know, I had him mocked going
You did
6
have
to
him
you
mocked.
guys too. So I thought it made the most sense with how it shook out. You gotta give them credit. They stuck true to the board. The Giants did. They could have reached for McCarthy, like you said, if they wanted a quarterback, but they're like, no, let's just take the best player available because they have a lot of holes. Receiver being one of them. And as you're looking down the board, they're like, okay, Malik's rated higher than everyone else. Let's get him. That's what they did. Was this more of a pick for Daniel Jones? I would say no. I would say they're definitely going to be off of Daniel Jones after this year, and they're going to find their franchise quarterback after that to take over. And this is a way to look at it: is Malik Neighbors is already in place for their future quarterback, right? So he's going to play this year with Daniel, and then whoever the quarterback's going to be next year, we'll have Malik Neighbors already in there. So that's how I look at it. Yeah, as far as the pick goes, good pick. Gotta give Shane credit. Really good job there. Got the best player available at 6. And yeah, there's a lot of ability there. And like you said, the top 3 guys are studs. So to get one of them is a good pick for sure. I'll be with you right at A-. And yeah, I think he should pan out. He has all the ability to, but we got to see how the quarterback play shapes out and all that. So he's not throwing himself the football. So we got to see how all the other factors play in that shitty MetLife turf. So we got to see how that all factors into this.
I just want to say, no one tore their ACL on the MetLife turf last season. No one tore their ACL. I just want to put that out there because a lot of people, everyone tears their ACL.
Well,
Last
AJ
year,
Brown missed our
it was,
playoff game.
well, all right, he missed a playoff game, but he didn't tear anything. He didn't tear anything. He was still healthy. Well, it wasn't season ending, right? But yeah, I think Malik Neighbors, I think he
It
will
was
be.
season ending though because we lost without
Well,
him there.
your season was gonna end no matter what. That the way the second half of the year, the way it was going, it was gonna end.
Okay.
But yeah, I like the pick, sticking pat, getting Malik Neighbors, and not reaching on a guy like JJ McCarthy. Good pick by Shane and
Yeah, it's a good
company.
value pick. Yeah.
Good value pick. Now we'll talk about. Let's see. Let's talk about the shocker with the Falcons at 8, drafting Michael Penix Jr. when you just signed Kirk Cousins to this massive deal, 4-year deal. I think it was $180 million. Crazy stuff. Didn't think that would happen, but they want to build their quarterback room for the future, their GM was saying. They want to have that
Yeah.
Jordan Love luxury like the Packers did with Aaron Rodgers. So I get it. But if Kirk Cousins plays out this whole contract, Mr. Michael Penix Jr. will be 28 years old. So I don't really understand the pick there because you're going to waste like his prime right now with Michael Penix just sitting on the bench. But we don't know if Kirk is going to come back really healthy from this Achilles injury. We got to see. But, I think they have – it's like a 2-year – like they have 2 years and then the rest is voidable, just like the Daniel Jones contract, I believe. So if they get 2 years of Kirk and then 2 years of Michael Penix, it's not bad when you're coming from that standpoint. But I don't get the pick. I don't understand it at all because I don't even think he'll start this year unless Kirk is hurt. That's the only way I see Penix starting. But I like the pick for the Falcons when you're talking about the quarterback room and the future of the quarterback room and getting a guy like Michael Penix because I think next year, right, they won't have a draft pick this high, so they won't be able to get a premier quarterback next year because there's a lot of talent on this Falcons roster now that you have Kirk and all the weapons you're getting. So I like what they did from that standpoint because they don't believe they'll get a Michael Penix in the upcoming draft. So I get it from that standpoint. But for this year, it's kind of confusing because you want to try and win now with Kirk and all, trying to get, a pass rusher that was available like Dallas Turner. That would help your defense out a lot. And he kind of slipped. But, I understand why they did it, getting Michael Penix to have that quarterback for the future because you don't know how much longer Kirk is going to last for you with the injuries and all that. So I get it from that. I would give this grade a C+ because solely on the future of the quarterback spot and the quarterback room and how high they valued Michael Penix. So I'll give it a C+.
Where'd I go from here? Yeah, I'm with you in terms of don't really understand the move, and you were trying to get in their heads like, okay, why did it justify it? And you said they won't be as high again at 8 to get a quarterback. However, what if later on in Kirk's contract, he stinks, he's washed, he's bad, then you're back up in position to draft a quarterback. So then you're wasting his prime, and Kirk is bad, so you're already picking in the top 5, let's say. So then this was a waste of a pick because now he's sitting there. He's going to be 28. So from that, I don't really understand the move. This is not. Michael Penix is a bad quarterback. No, I kind of like Michael Penix as a player, but for the team, it doesn't make sense because he's not going to play right away, and he's an older quarterback. So from that standpoint, I don't get it. And the Falcons as a team were, I think they were the worst team as far as pressures and sacking the quarterback, and they didn't address it in the first round. When I thought they would when you have like Raheem Morris in there, I thought they would go that route. And the contract they gave Kirk with 180, 100 million guaranteed, that to me signified like their confidence in him and they believe he'll be okay with the Achilles. And then which makes this pick even more confusing because of all the money you're giving him. So because you're telling me the Achilles should be good and he should be playing good football for us, and we're going to try to contend for the South. And the Penix pick doesn't help you win the South now that you're trying to do. So from that, I'll give it. I'll be a little bit nice. I'll give it a C, but I can see how people could give it lower.
Yeah, just a really questionable pick, but we'll see how it pans out. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Mr. J.J. McCarthy now going to the Vikings. Vikings traded up from pick 11 to 10 to make sure that they did get their guy in J.J. McCarthy. They didn't want the Broncos to get him, but supposedly the Broncos didn't want him at all, and Sean Payton was playing some games on the phone to make the Vikings trade up. So kudos to Sean Payton for getting the Vikings to take a guy in J.J. McCarthy when they really didn't want him the whole time. But J.J. McCarthy, I think it's a good pick because they needed a quarterback. Sam Darnold's not the guy for the Vikings. They need a nice, young, potential face of the franchise in J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy is a solid pick there at 10 and not trading up
Mm.
for, earlier in the draft, maybe at like 6 or 5 with the Chargers and getting J.J. McCarthy. Staying pat at 10 and getting him is good value there. He potentially could be the face of the franchise with the offense he has built around him and Kevin O'Connell. You got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. They just signed Aaron Jones. Like, there's a lot of potential there for JJ McCarthy. I think he's going in the best situation there in the Vikings and not going to the Giants at 6. I think going to the Vikings is a better situation just because of all the talent and weapons that he has, and Kevin O'Connell being the offensive coach that he is. He saw success with Kirk Cousins. They were a playoff team. And JJ McCarthy is a winner. He's won a lot of games at Michigan. It wasn't because of him. It was with the style of offense that Jim Harbaugh ran, not John. Jim Harbaugh ran at Michigan. Led them to a national championship game. Is a winner. They were undefeated this year. It wasn't all JJ McCarthy. His team played a part in that. But I think JJ McCarthy, just with the weapons that he has with the Vikings, has a lot of potential. And I think, a guy like Kevin O'Connell will groom him to potentially be that face of the franchise. I like the pick. He's going into a good situation and probably the best situation out of all the teams that he could have went to. So I'm going to give this grade a B+.
Yeah, it's a good situation to go to, having Addison and Jefferson and Aaron Jones there now. Pretty good offense to work with. I don't know if he's gonna beat Sam Darnold right off the bat. It might be Sam Darnold starting, and then JJ could learn from it. But yeah, I'm not the biggest McCarthy fan. I think he was more of a product of the Harbaugh offense, like you were kind of saying, and the run game. Like that second half of the Penn State game, they ran it the whole time. He didn't throw a single pass just because of how good their run game was in their O line. So in the NFL, that's going to change. The talent's going to be greater on the defensive side, and Vikings don't have the best offensive line in the world, so we'll see. We'll see there. He has some ability to throw the football pretty well. We just got to see how he reads defenses and adjusts to the pro style where things pick up, things move a little bit faster. But I understand the pick. I was more of a fan of the Vikings' second pick that they had when they traded up. They made another move to come up there too from 22 to 19, I think, or somewhere up the board. I was more a fan of that, but the McCarthy pick, I get it because you need someone in the future to build and have Kevin O'Connell there that has done a good job with Kirk there. It makes sense. And he got his guy, so he's going to work with him. And the biggest thing is he's a leader too. The people in Michigan his teammates really played for him. They gave it their all for him, and he led them to a national championship. You cannot take that away. The guy might be a winner. We just got to just see how he develops, how the talent goes, and yeah, it just it's a question mark right now. So I don't know. I'll probably give it a C+ pick, just because I don't know what his ceiling is. Just got to
Yeah.
see in 2 years.
Very understandable because who knows what he's going to do there in Minnesota. But I like the situation that he's in, so that's why I gave it a B+. Let's talk about, I guess, the next quarterback taken off the board. He went 12 to Denver Broncos. Quarterback out of Oregon, Mr. Bo Nix. I like the pick a lot. I think Sean Payton, he loved Bo Nix throughout this whole draft process, and getting him there at 12 is pretty good value. I still think it's kind of high for Bo Nix. I don't think he's really worth the 12th overall pick. I think if you
Yeah.
could have traded back, you still could have got him. But I guess they really need the face of the franchise because Jared Stidham's not the guy. And, he gets to work with Sean Payton, Mr. Bo Nix. So I like that. He's a guy that has a lot of production at Oregon, right? And he was really talented there and played a lot of years there. So there is a lot of, I guess, work that he's produced at Oregon, and there's a lot of value there getting him at 12. And being with Sean Payton, guy who's really good with quarterbacks, he did a lot of work with Mr. Drew Brees, but I don't know how much of it was Sean Payton. But Russell Wilson really didn't pan out, so this is your next best option, getting a guy on a rookie deal like Bo Nix. So we'll see what happens. I don't really know much about Bo Nix, but I know that Sean Payton liked him a lot during this draft process. So we'll see what happens. I still think it's a little too high for the 12th overall pick. I would give this grade a C just because I think it took him too high and you could have got him later. You could have traded back and still got him. So I'll give it a C.
Oh, this was a major reach. I'll be honest. I'll give this I gave the Penix pick a C. I think this one. I'll give it around a C as well. I was gonna be a little bit more harsh than that, but I was nicer with the Penix pick, which made a little bit more, not as much sense as this one from a logical standpoint. I put it around the same par, I guess. But yeah, I think the McCarthy pick, this one, you're reaching a little bit just because of quarterback and because of need, and not so much on getting the best guy there for your team that can help you now. Um, yeah, this goes to the same for the Broncos. We have no expectations for them to do anything next year, so they could be in a similar situation. In a situation next year where they're in the top two and they could have a top quarterback in the draft.
Yeah,
Like I was saying with the Patriots earlier. So, yeah, this doesn't make too much sense. I could get it. I can understand why Sean Payton might like him, but to take him at 12 when you could need first round talent at other positions, it doesn't make too much sense. You could have held it off for another year and just basically throw away the season, just tank, and then have Sean Payton get a Shadur or a Jackson Dart or something like that next year.
yeah,
Yeah, not a good draft pick here. I think the Broncos and the Falcons did not have a strong first round for sure. They're the weaker two picks.
for sure. Let's see. What else should we talk about? Let's move on to your Philadelphia Eagles. Let's talk about the
Sure.
two guys that they got. So they got two first round talents, and one in the first, one in the second round. They got two corners that they desperately needed. They got Quinyon Mitchell, corner out of Toledo. I don't know much about him, but everyone was saying he was the best cornerback out of this draft class. So I think they got really good value. There was talks that how he might trade up to get one of these cornerbacks, or he might trade back if they don't fall to him at 22. They fell to him at 22. How we got Quinyon Mitchell, I like the pick a lot because all in all, he's the best corner in this draft class, and you get him there at 22. And your secondary wasn't the greatest last year. Darius Slay's getting up there in age. James Bradbury's getting up there in age. So getting a nice young corner, Quinyon Mitchell. He got the best corner out of this draft. I give this grade an A. And then you get in Cooper DeJean in the second round. I like that pick. He was projected to go in the first round, and he slipped to 40. Eagles traded up. They snagged him. And now you got two solid corners that could potentially be, there for a long time. So I like that. I like that a lot. Got a lot of value. I give this grade an A. I think all in all, Howie did a great job, pulling this off and getting two guys that were potentially supposed to be in the first round, guys that you would have to trade up for, and you stood pat, stood there at 22. Mr. Howie Roseman, I think he had like 8 or 9 draft trades he did, most in
Yeah,
NFL
most.
history,
Yeah.
which is nuts. He's just working the phones like he always does. So he had a great draft. And also again, Jeremiah Trotter, because I'll talk about him. Why not? We can. Yeah, 5th round pick. Get the guy that was a legend in the Eagles locker room for quite some time, getting his son in the 5th round. He kind of fell a little bit, but who knows why. But I like the pick just for, nostalgia and all that for the Eagles fans. It was a good pick. But yeah, I think the Eagles had a great draft, and just being there at 22 and getting some of the best secondary prospects out there. Cooper might play safety. He's not a lock to play at corner, so all in all, there's a lot of room to work with those corners. But I think all in all, it was a great draft from Howie Roseman, and I'll give the grade an A.
Appreciate the A. I'll go A minus just because like the back outside the top two, it's more project based stuff. They're not really guaranteed to play right away. Like our third round pick, the edge rusher from I think Houston Christian, Jalix. He's not going to play right away. More of a project. And when you lose the son, you need production, kind of like right now, since we're trying to contend for a Super Bowl. So I'm not as high on that pick, but the Trotter pick was a feel good story. He did fall a little bit, and I think it was because like Nakobe Dean is a little bit undersized, and his production wasn't the best last year. Too, he had a stronger end to it than the beginning as well. But yeah, the top two picks were very solid. A lot of people had Quignon as a top 10 favorite player, definitely going inside the top 20. And for us to sit at 22, and it's just the way the draft board fell with like the first 15 picks, 14 picks being offense, something ridiculous like that. It allowed us to sit back and take a defensive player and Quinyon Mitchell. And yeah, the dude's got a lot of talent. He gives us speed on the outside that we need. He's got good closing speed. He plays fast. He had a good showing at the Senior Bowl, so that's encouraging. Even though he's not in a Power 5 school, I like the pick a lot. I was fine with him or Arnold there, either one. And yeah, and to get Cooper in the second round was tremendous value. Like you said, he's supposed to be a top first round pick, excuse me, and he fell to 40, trade up and get him. So yeah, and he has a lot of versatility. Like you said, he could play safety. He might play there. You have Gardner Johnson there. Maybe he plays opposite to him if he beats out like Reed and other guys. And then you have a, but I don't know if he might be more like a special teamer first year because you have Isaiah Rodgers coming off like the suspension list, whatever. He's reinstated, so he'll probably be your slot guy. And then you got Slay, and then a lot of people are putting Quignon over Bradbury for the other side quarterback, so the other outside, the CB2. And then you probably have Gardner Johnson, and then you Reed Blankenship. Alphonte Max is back. He has safety experience as well. Maybe he gets that other one. So, yeah, he's going to be in a battle probably for either the nickel with Rodgers or safety for right now until Slay's gone, and then maybe they'll both be the outside quarterbacks with Quignon and him. But yeah, I like the first two picks. The first two picks were home runs. They were no brainers to me. They drafted based off. They filled a need while drafting high on value, so I can't knock that. And then yeah, he got a little bit weaker towards the end, but the offensive lineman, we have stout. He could develop those guys too. It's kind of why he pulled for the Mekhi Becton trade yesterday when we heard that, because he can probably play him at guard. He can work on his technique and stuff. So yeah, I can't hate the Eagles draft at all as an Eagles fan. I think they filled all the needs and they got really good players for it.
Yeah, solid draft. Yeah, I don't know much about the players for the Giants too after the first two rounds. I don't know much about them either. So, it's all based on, their draft boards and whatnot, and who they valued and draft needs. So I feel like Howie got what they wanted, right? They got the two corners. You got some edge rushers. There's going to be a project. And you got a linebacker in Jeremiah Trotter, right? So all in all, I think it was a solid draft. Let's transition now. Let's talk about Zeke. So Zeke has returned to Dallas Cowboys for a 1-year deal. I think it was like $3 million. Cowboys draft wasn't the greatest. I know they got the tackle from Oklahoma, but other than that, everyone's shitting on Jerry Jones being all in this offseason, and they really didn't even do much this this draft class and didn't even draft a running back. Instead, they stood pat, got Ezekiel Elliott out of free agency, a guy that, every year his production has just dropped and just hasn't been the same since he's been drafted in 2016, fourth overall to the Cowboys. Um, I like the pick for a feel good story, right? Or signing him to the Cowboys for a 1 year deal. It's a nice feel good story having Zeke back in the locker room and his last play not being lined up as center and snapping it to Dak Prescott. Like, I like that he's back and can finish on a good note potentially, but the Cowboys, they're not even Super Bowl contenders. They got worse this offseason, and I don't know what they're doing. Jerry Jones being all in, I haven't seen any of that. Dak is going to be a free agent after this offseason. Who knows if they re-sign him? So there's a lot of question marks with Dallas right now. You still got to re-sign Micah. You still got to re-sign CD. They're just not going to be Super Bowl contenders because they're going to have to pay all these guys, and I don't know how they're going to win the Super Bowl when you're bringing back a guy like Mike McCarthy who, just keeps choking in the playoffs as of late. So I don't know. There's a lot of question marks. Signing Zeke is just a stupid move because you didn't get who you wanted in the draft. So like, oh, we got to get Zeke to make fans happy. We're all in. I don't know. I just don't see him as Super Bowl contenders. I think their team got worse, and they potentially can still make the playoffs. But if they do, I see them being first-round exits yet again. So all in all, I don't know what I grade the Zeke signing a C minus just because you're getting a guy that will start right away. Because the running back room's like Royce Freeman and Deuce Vaughn, like no one cares about those guys. So Zeke will start right away, without a doubt. He had some games where he had multiple touchdowns, like on the goal line for the Patriots last year, but it wasn't like he was very productive and it was still the Zeke of the past. It's just a guy that will start for you because your running back room is lacking right now. And Jerry Jones just hasn't been all in. And Cowboys fans should be riding at Jerry Jones because it's just been an awful offseason and they've gotten worse. So I would give it a C right now just because of, the lack of production Zeke has had over the past few years.
Yeah, Cowboys don't know how to manipulate the cap. They don't know how to convert things into signing bonus, roster bonus to give them more cap now to get guys. The fact they never offered Derrick Henry everything when he lives in Dallas. We saw him. He was at the Mavericks Clippers game. We saw him courtside. He was there. The fact they didn't offer him anything is asinine. That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know what they're doing down there. Like McCarthy's hasn't done a bad job. 12-5, right? Record, not bad at all. But you're not doing anything to improve the team now to get into the Super Bowl. And I think they're looking more like, oh, we gotta pay these guys. We gotta pay Micah. We gotta pay CD. Dak might be up for a new contract. We might have to keep him around. So they're thinking about that, but yeah, man, they need to get numbers guys in there to help them with the cap. They don't know how to maneuver it around to give them money now to get quality guys in there. I guess they're saving grace. I guess is the draft. I guess the draft was pretty decent too. Yeah, but I guess as far as Zeke, he's old. He's washed now. Like I said, his only production comes on the goal line. How they don't have that change of pace back really to help offset the defense. It just, Zeke's in going between the tackles, or he's going to pass block. Dak's going to have to throw it like 60 times a game for them to win. That's how I'm looking at it. And then their offense becomes predictable at that point, right? Just focus on taking the pass away, make them run the ball, drop more guys back in the coverage, put less guys in the box. They become more predictable, and it's hard to say they got better. They need to get cap guys in there, man. They need to figure out how to fix that cap. This move's just a D, I guess. I don't. He's not the Zeke of old, but I understand why they got him.
Yeah, just very questionable decision by the Cowboys front office. Just hasn't been the greatest offseason for sure.
No.
let's talk about the Stephon Diggs trade because we haven't, and it's been over a month, but we haven't told the audience our thoughts on it. I like the move for the Texans. For the Bills, I think it was stupid because, that was your whole offense pretty much, except for the second half of the year. Second half of the year, they changed things up because they got the new OC. But, losing a guy like Diggs, I think hurts the Bills a lot because he was still very productive. And, you know, teams have to worry about, guarding Diggs. So then when you guard Diggs, that opened up the run game. That's why James Cook was so good the second half of the year and whatnot, and why Dalton Kincaid was actually having a solid rookie season the second half of the year. So losing Diggs, that's going to make those other guys have to step up. I don't know if they will, but the Bills, they just did get a receiver, Keon Coleman. I think he will be solid. They had a first-round grade on him, so getting him in the second round, I like that. But if you got him in the first round, right, you could have had that fifth-year option. We were talking about this off camera. Could have had that fifth-year option for Keon Coleman if you really liked him that much. I guess they really didn't like him that much that they would only sign him to a 4-year deal with the second round pick, and you don't have to pay him as much. So they get that, I guess, kind of when they don't have to pay him as much. You give him all that money right away.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think
they got back.
the Diggs trade, losing a guy like Diggs, I know there was a little drama there. He was a little bit of a diva, but like he was really productive and made Josh Allen's career trajectory go up. Because, Josh Allen, people are saying he was a bust without Diggs. And then when Diggs insert him in the lineup, Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks now, right? He's a top 3 quarterback in this league because of Stephon Diggs. So we got to see what Josh Allen could do without Stephon Diggs now this season. I think the Bills, they're going to take a little dip now. I don't think they'll be potentially the winners of the division because they lost a lot of pieces this offseason for sure, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And then losing a guy like Diggs, it hurts. It's going to hurt their team overall. But for the Texans' perspective, I think Texans, giving CJ Stroud another weapon, add to the arsenal that he already has. You got Nico Collins in there. You got Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz. They just drafted a tight end. You got Joe Mixon as well. Got him from the Bengals. I think that was a solid trade. So I think that adds another element to their offense. And now it's going to be harder for defenses to, cover Stephon Diggs and Nico and Tank Dell all at once. So I think the Texans, I think they got better, and they're more of a AFC contender right now than the Bills are because they got a lot of cap space to work with now because they're working on a rookie deal with CJ Stroud. So that opens up a lot of other positions so you could pay them. And, this Diggs deal, it's only a 1-year deal, and they could potentially extend him next year if he does well. But I think it's a good move for the Texans. I think they're one of the top teams now, right? They're up there with the Chiefs. I think they're up there with the Bengals and the Ravens. I think they're going to be one of those dogs competing for that Vince Lombardi trophy next year. So I like the move a lot for the Texans. I think you're getting another alpha receiver in that offense. And CJ Stroud, if he plays like he did last year, I think they can go on a run and potentially, compete with the Chiefs and be in that Super Bowl next year. I think they do. If everyone stays healthy, I like the culture that D'Amico Ryans is building there in Houston. I think, everything is going and trending in the right direction. So all in all, for the Texans perspective, I would give the trade a grade of an A. I give it an A. I think it's that good. And then the Bills perspective, did they get a first round pick? I think they only got second.
No, I don't even think they got a first round.
Yeah, they only got a second for Diggs, and he's been hella productive. I would give it I give it a C minus because you're losing one of your best players out there, but you don't have to pay him now. They had to open up cap space, so I get it from that perspective. But C minus because you're going to lose a really productive receiver and Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. That was his favorite toy on that offense. So all in all, I'll give it a C minus. The Bills got worse. They got worse this year, and the Texans, I think they're right up there with the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bengals for competing in the AFC. So now that we got that off my chest, it's been a month. I've been holding that in. I'll let Justin talk about the Stephon Diggs trade.
Well, not much to say. He took the words right out of my mouth. It's just the just to keep it short and sweet, this is the Texans going all in, taking advantage of the rookie contract, like you're saying. And yeah, giving him Diggs. Now he has Nico and Tank and Dalton Schultz. A pretty decent offensive line to work with also. This is good stuff for the Texans, excuse me. A+ all around the board. A team that was in the divisional lost to the Ravens. I expect them to be right back in the divisional, but I can foresee a Chiefs Texans showdown in the AFC Championship game. I just can't. I think you could argue the Ravens are still better, or the Texans may have passed them with their moves this offseason. So yeah, very solid stuff for the Texans. And Steve knows where I'm going to go here. I've been calling Brandon Beane overrated for the past 2 months. It made no sense what he was doing this whole offseason. He can't get rid of Diggs, right? He helped Josh Allen's career ascend to newer heights, greater heights. And now he's got to work with younger talent. That could be good, but are there going to be stuff on Diggs good? That's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. You're taking a chance. And a lot of these draft guys, the hit rate's so slim in the draft, so you don't know what you're going to get with that. If you're probably most likely you're not going to get a Diggs.
Yes.
Diggs is a guy. So that's concerning. I get what you're saying with Cap. I can understand that, but man, you just ruined a window with Josh Allen to go to the championship, to get to the Super Bowl again, to win it, to be the first Super Bowl in your franchise. You kind of ruined that window a little bit. The defense took a hit. The offense took a hit. All they have really is just Curtis Samuel, Josh Allen, the rookie receivers they got, James Cook. I don't even know if they win the division this year. I'm honestly more higher on the Jets personally, and the Dolphins possibly too. Yeah, it might be a rough year for the Bills, man.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I think they had an F off season, one of the worst I've seen in a long time. They kind of just ruined what they had going. To be honest, I don't get it.
But they did sign Frank Gore Jr., so I like that move a lot for them.
Oh, nice.
Undrafted free agent. I think, yeah. Hopefully he could be like Frank Gore. That would be cool. Frank Gore did play with Josh Allen, if you didn't know. Back in
I
the
do
day.
remember him on the Bills.
I think it was rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the draft, 75% of the players drafted were offense. So that was crazy. Just tells you where the league is because of all the rules and everything. Everyone's valuing offense over defense for those reasons.
Yeah, so I don't know what the Bills are doing, but
And the Bills getting worse on offense. It makes sense.
They are getting worse. A lot of questionable decisions this past all season, but we'll see how it all pans out for Brandon Beane and company. I feel like both of them could be on their way out. Him and Mr. Sean McDermott. I don't know. We will see.
Yeah, a lot of
definitely McDermott. I feel like McDermott's more on his way out. They'll get an offensive guy.
Yeah, I don't think he has a playoff roster though. It's the thing.
Yeah, well, he had one last year.
He could say
the year before that.
Yeah, he could say though if he doesn't make the playoffs, like, well, you guys didn't give me a roster to make the playoffs with, to do something with.
Potentially, this could happen. McDermott gets fired, right? And say the Giants have a crappy season, Dable gets fired. Dable could be in Buffalo next year. There's a possibility.
Yeah, you can't rule it. Anything's possible. You can't rule that.
Anything's possible. Who knows? I hope that's not the case. I want Dable to stay.
Giants get McDermott then.
No, please no. We're getting Bill Belichick if we're getting a coach. I could see that happening. I don't want it to happen, but
okay.
But yeah, I think that wraps up this podcast. We talked about a lot of stuff. We recapped the draft, talked about some free agency moves and whatnot, and gave our grades for everything. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this episode of this podcast for Benchwire. If you did, drop a like, subscribe, comment if you guys want to see some different content on the channel, because now I don't know what the channel's going to have, because the draft's over and the NFL season is not going to start for a while now, so it's kind of going to be dead here on the channel. But NBA content could be a thing. We could talk about the NBA playoffs and whatnot with the Sixers debacle right now and the Knicks being them dogs that they are. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of question marks for this channel, what's coming up, but we would like to hear you guys' feedback on what you guys want to see on the channel. That would be awesome. So comment down below and go follow us on social media. We got a link tree down below. We got Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook for all those lovely old people because we love you so much.
Love old people.
TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We got it all. Check the link tree down below. We'll catch you guys later. Benchwire.
Catch you on the flip. Out, baby.
Boom.